Get stacked.
Triple threat.
Expected value. Now take what you learn, go out there, and get stacked.
I'm back for the third part. I left for a bit, and I think some of the software for Hodl Manager messed up. So if anything does go wrong, that's why. I'm pretty bad at intros, so I'll just go straight back into the poker, which I can talk about. I think there is quite a long period of not playing hands, actually. Imagine I play Queen 10 on the button. No. No. Rags. I was pretty happy at this point, folding lots of rags. I remember playing this. Nano and I have quite a lot of history in pre-flop from when he used to play 2-5. I'm not sure if he had that much awareness of it, just because he plays ridiculous amounts of tables, and I'm probably not as memorable as him. But yeah, he doesn't mess around. He went for the 4-bet jam of 120 bigs. Cool. That was weird, but you know, he's probably correct in doing so, whatever hand he had. Imagine it was some kind of like pocket nines or something. Ace king maybe. Playing queens. Nope. Here I do a bit of a goofy play. I feel like it maybe wasn't the highest EV. I just bet small on the turn, try and maybe take the pot down, maybe get some value out of nines or something. But against good players, it's probably not a great play, and I'm gonna put that one down to tiredness. Perhaps raise and take it. Yeah, come on. Still so weird for me to think that each raise and take it's like $75. Oh, it's like more because they're antes as well. Here I check call with ace high, and sorry, with king high on ace high boards, and see I wasn't actually good, but if Nano has fours there and is giving up, he's also giving up with stuff like 9-10 and Jack-10 and loads of other stuff that we have beat. Probably playing ace king. I feel like that was a c-bet. Yeah. Nothing much to say there. Some people choose to check back in those spots, but I think when it's bottom versus big blinds, his range is going to be a bit weaker, so we have a bit more fold equity on future streets. Here we got old Gilly, if you remember from part 2. Bit of a station, he's a fun player. I decided to check back because Gilly does love betting those turns, and it's a weak showdown value hand. I'm not getting too much value out of weaker stuff. We're getting overbet from Nano here, and obviously we're just calling, like, there's no value in raising. We don't want to chase out Nano or Gilly. I feel that a lot of the time Nano's overbet is going to be quite bluffy, because Gilly has been shown to call small bets and then fold to big bets some of the time. And I feel that he probably has air most of the time. And on the river, I go for a half pot value bet, as like I said, Gilly has been calling small bets and folding to big bets, and as per, he loves it. He just loves it. Loves being a Gilly. Probably just completing here and not doing anything on that flop. And Roy J, Cooler and Gilly actually had a legit hand, and you can see that he bet to Gilly. He bet into Gilly when no, sorry, he checked to Gilly when he could have bet into him. I think personally I'd probably bet, because in those kind of spots it's difficult to say whether Gilly is going to be predictable when we check to him and bet, because some of the time he may check back showdown value, but we just know that he doesn't like to fold. Whereas if we bet, we don't give him the chance to check, and we can be very sure that there's going to be a better on the flop, because he hates the folding if he has any kind of equity. Even a gut shot, and there are just so many hands that have some kind of equity on that board that may not want to bet themselves. So I'll probably, if I was Roy J there, just make a half pot bet. I'm not sure if he's been there the whole time as well. With queens, we're just going for big value. There's lots of draws as well, so We can bet reasonably large, like 3/4 pot in each street there. But we've got 4, so it's fine. Here again, I'm utilizing my limping range. It's not something I usually do. It's just when we want to price Gillian, like we have here. And I go for a min raiser because I'm a fish, but no, because I had reasons at the time that when Cruz doesn't raise, his range is very capped, because he would be raising any kind of value hand. If he had a set or 2 pair or anything, he'd raise it against Gilly just to try and get it on the flop versus, you know, whatever Gilly decides to have. I don't know why I'm calling him Gilly. Good old Gilbert. No, I don't like that name. But so by min raising here, to Gilly, I think it won't mean much because he's not very proficient at poker. He's a fun player. And to Cruz, it may look ridiculously strong, especially if I bet a lot of turns. And seeing as we're ahead of Gilly's range, and we may not be ahead of Cruz, the plan of this is to try and fold out Cruz by the river. Don't look at that. Oh, that's the internet probably going, that's not good. Anyway, to fold out Cruz by the river, and to get Gilly to put more money in with what is almost always going to be a worse hand. So we get a good turn. I'm running good, I know. I just bet big for value because the ace may ring some kind of 2-pair to Gilly, and if he had the ace 4, ace 2, ace 3, whatever, then he would not be folding. So I was just going to go big and then probably half pot in the river to get maximum value out of those hands, and I don't think there's much else we can get value from there. Probably playing 3s, no fun. Definitely playing king queen. I decided to 3-bet small here. I didn't think that I was going to do that looking this back, but I do like that I did it. It builds a pot with what is almost always going to be a better hand than what Gilly has, and it gives us the pre-flop aggression as well. And I check, hoping that he he bets when check too, because this is a hand that I'm not going to get too many streets of value if he does have a 6 or a 7, because he hasn't been known to call down like ridiculously like all the time. But I can probably get 2 streets of value out of it if I check. If I check, then bet 2 streets the turn in the river. Whereas if he has some kind of air hand, I might be able to just check call down and get 3 streets out of his air. So I think this is one of the boards that it'd be better for me to bet. To check on the flop, but when he checks back, we hope that he has some kind of marginal showdown value and just go for 2 streets, but don't get it by the river. I went big on the river, which I'm actually not fond of, but this is 6 AM and I'm not too annoyed at myself because it's not too much worse. I would have preferred to see about a 3rd pot bet there, because fun players are notorious for being scared of flushes when they come in, even if it's really unlikely that you have one. Raising ace king, isolate Gilly. Oh yeah, I remember this hand. Because he is calling down with such marginal showdown value and only raising when he has it, I feel that this is definitely a spot where I should be going for 3 streets of value. I go for 2/3, 2/3, 2/3, I think, and Gilly had a hand. He had a quite good hand. Good for him though. Get a stack. Again, just utilising the limping range, and when someone tries to isolate, limp raise just to punish those regs that think that just because I'm limping doesn't mean I'm going to be not playing back. Yeah, again, happens, and I think once getting this much multiple action, it's fine to just call and play as per. And Gilly gets 2 outed. It's quite good / bad when those kind of things happen to the fun players on your table, because they're either going to get really annoyed and just rebuy and be like, I can't believe I got so unlucky, and just, you know, spew off another 20-30k, or he's going to get annoyed and leave. But seeing as he just won the W Coup, I felt that quite often it's going to be the former, and it just frustrates him into thinking that he's getting really unlucky. You know, it's the classic fun player mantra of thinking, when I win, I was playing amazingly when I won the Turbo W Coup, no variance involved in that at all. And when I lost, Jesus, remember that 2-outer on the river? Oh, it's horrible. So, whatever. But it is also getting quite late, and I think Gilly was from the UK, so I wasn't expecting to stay for too long. Here I call Jason. No, sorry, I call Sick Bastard with quite a marginal hand, but because we're deep, I think it's fine. But Giddy wasn't in the pot, so it was marginal whether it did, and Jason does a really small squeeze and somehow gets it through. A bit confused about that one. Would have liked to see myself do a back raise there, but I think I was quite intent on just getting more hands with Gilly before the night ends. Here with Jason, I go for a check raise. I think it's just a perfect hand for it. If I hit an 8 or a 10, I often am ahead on the turn. And if I hit clubs or any of my backdoor straight draws, I can just barrel quite big. As I remember, he called the flop and then snap folded the turn, so I imagine he was just floating. I think it's quite good to look at those kind of things, especially against people. If you have, I'll try and get it up here. On my HUD here on the third line, this is my c-bet flop and then fold to a raise percentage, the last one. And if they have a stat they're higher than 60, 65, then I'll be check raising a lot as a bluff, as it starts becoming very, very profitable to check raise any kind of backdoors when they're c-betting loads, especially on boards that they're going to be c-betting loads and won't actually have a hand often. Whereas some players, they'll have a stat there that's, say, 20%, and you would only be really raising value hands against them. But depending on whether they're calling or 3-betting the flop. Here against Gilly, we're c-betting once and checking down, and checking down and folding it to a bet. Ace high is not really going to be good there, even against, well, it might be, but it's unlikely to be. Nothing there. Looks like I play this. Oh yeah, I remember. I will add at this point, it was 6:40 in the morning, according to my HUD, and my HUD was covering the last player, Roy J, and I was convinced that this went 3-handed. So I'm going to tell you why I did stuff considering the reason I thought it was 3-handed. But obviously once Roy J called, I realized it was 4-handed, but I initially checked the flop because I was planning to check raise, because it looked like a board that I would be check raising, say, sets and overpairs quite often. And I could still do it 4-handed, but it works a lot better 3-handed, so I go for a check raise, and the plan is just basically to get him off any kind of gut shots, open-enders, and Jack X. Just one pairs, going for big, but there's 7k in the pot at this point, and I considered shoving the river, but I thought I got hero called too often, especially with the pot odds, and yeah. I would not advise this kind of play too often. I mean, I might be being biased because it went wrong, and I'm sure a lot of people may be folding ace jack at some on the turn, but I was against very good players. It just doesn't look too credible when you're checking when there are 2 people behind there, because if I did say have aces, I want to be getting max value out of those 2 players as well, not just that player, so I probably wouldn't check the flop too often. Equally, that does bring up the point that it's quite good to check the flop for check raise for value in that kind of spot. Sometimes anyway. Just a good spot to balance your range. Here I call a 3-bet out position, and once he checks back, I should expect him to have ace X, ace king, ace queen, or something like ace 8 suited. And with the flush draw in the turn, I'm spending for value, and might get called once by ace king and ace queen, but he folds, so we don't care. Here I go for a squeeze with ace king, and I c-bet half pot and get a raise from Gilly, and Gilly has only been raising when he's had it, so I'm snap folding there. Give him a ton of credit until proven otherwise. Might be playing that. Nope. Yeah, once it's getting a bit later in the night and I'm not quite a lot, I was going to be playing a bit tighter. Here with king 9, I feel I remember Gilly leading with second pair, so I don't mind raising, but I think I should have called there. And as you can see, getting a bit later, I was making a few more minor mistakes. Definitely completing his queen. And getting back with the min raise. I remember this hand. Okay, so when Horvik checks, I'm very extremely ridiculously confident I have the better hand than him, because he would be betting so many of his value hands on the flop, because he doesn't want it to check through when he's deep with Gilly there, and say if he had aces and Gilly checks back like sixes, that's 2 streets of value that he may have been able to get. So I check raise there, thinking I'm ahead of both players and giving Gilly can have anything. And when Horvich called, he called my min raise. I think his hand is just tens or jacks so often, just so often. His range is ridiculously narrow. Not that unfond of his call, but I probably wouldn't personally, just because I think that once I min raise there, I'm just going to be so value heavy. And Gilly as well. I don't know. I don't hate it. It's just that it turns his hand face up, and I either have a value hand that will be better than his, or I have a semi bluff that will just be able to barrel him off at some point against a face up range. But yeah, I don't hate his call. And obviously a bad river there. It completes flush and queen jack, which would be, but we get lucky again. So Gilly has one of the only hands that we called twice and then not completed something on the river. So yeah, we run good. That's the thing. Up to 55k stack now, which I don't need to say again, I'm ludicrously happy about. We get limp raised here by Gilly. I think it's fine to defend here. Once he checks, I imagine he just has queens races a lot. And we're just trying to hit R9. And yeah, he goes for a pot size by the end, confirming the read that he probably had queens races. I think a lot of the time, once you see that kind of line, it's full value. Once a fish, a fun player, gets to the river without betting when it looks like he could have a nut hand, and then just bets pot, it looks like the fun player has been like, oh no, I missed my value, I'll get it all now. I folded, damn it. So yeah, when you see that kind of line, when it's check massive from a fun player, especially when he's 3-bet pre or something, then I would usually give it a lot of credit. Nano has been raising quite a lot, and I feel this is a spot where I thought he would 5-bet jam light some of the time, but it's just such a good spot. Perfect blockers for a call 4-bet, and he's been 3-betting Gilly quite light. But I don't know if he 5-bet jammed light there. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But, oh well. This hand is fun. I loved this hand so much. So we go 6-way to the flop, and 9's flop sets. So 9's flop the best sets. And Cruz, who somebody else had pointed out at the table, was taking a shot. I checked, and he usually plays 100 or 200 now. So, and he was playing ridiculously tight. He was obviously just there to try and take Gilly's money. So his range is particularly narrow. So when Gilly leads and Cruz calls, his range is almost always just going to be an overpair or a set, both of which we have in brilliantly bad shape. But equally, we have the board locked up at the moment, and we definitely want people to be able to catch up. And if we did raise here, we're never bluffing, and I don't think Cruz is going to stack off light just with an overpair, because Gilly's in the pot and he wouldn't expect me to raise like Jack 10 or 10-8 or anything, just because it doesn't get through enough. So yeah, Cruz confirmed my reads a bit. Bets 1.5k, which I don't think he would be doing as a bluff, just because it looks like Gilly's going to be calling too often. So I imagine now Cruz just always has an overpair, 7s or deuces, like 95% of the time, and in a lovely manner, our fun player Gilly calls, and the river's quite nice as well. It just means we have the best hands so often, because 10-8 would be played differently by both parties, I think, or just wouldn't be played by crews. So I go for a half pot bet on the end, not really sure what I'm hoping to get called by, just a Jack-10 kind of hand or cruises over pair. I realised I could go massive, but like I said, Gilly had been less inclined to call massive bets and more inclined to call smaller or to half pot bets. And I thought maybe crews would think I had something like queens and would call if I went half pot with aces or kings. But as it is, Gilly called and crews folded, and Gilly loves it. I don't know what it is, but he loves it. He loves it all. Ace king suited, probably giving it up. And you can see how much he loves it when he flops a straight as well. Which calls him down, which I can't really blame him for at all. Though Gilly hasn't been bluffing too many streets, he's just usually been betting once then stopping. But definitely can't blame Horvich for calling there. Nothing to see here. Yes, play this. No. Okay, that's just boring. I think that is Gilly leaving. As sad as it is to see such a fun player taking his chips away from the table, that pretty much symbolises the end of the session. And I think at this point I was, that would be it. I think at this point I was extremely happy to get to 61, 62k. And I think I did play a few more hands. I got my stack up a bit higher, but like I said, there was some technical difficulties at the beginning of this review. So anyway, that was my favourite ever cash session, and I ran ridiculously well, and I was lucky to have shared the table with such a fun player at such a fun time for me. And if anybody does want to ask any questions about dynamics with either the more fun players or the really strong regs that I play against, then please do. And any other questions, I will probably be answering on YouTube comments or wherever Evan decides to post it. So this has been Charlie for Grips.com. Get stacking.
Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking.
Stack it up, cash it in, damn, I win again. Many friends come to play, cause I'm on the internet. Better yet, I flop the turn and take a chance upon the river. I'll bluff you with the 7-2 offsuit, whatever's clever, call you all in while your chip stacks falling. Better believe the dealer, cause the game just started. Don't know the rules, you bet it all and then you risk it. If you wanna learn it, you should go online and hit up Gripsit.
Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Ever since a young cat, wanna pocket stack with cash in the fast stack, crammed in the clam clip. Gotta get the action, gotta get it stacking. Dollars on the noggin, want a lot of transactions. Started as a little retarded, now with the knowledge, playing cards, flopping, bombarded cause it was harder than I thought. Then I got on Grips.com, asking and got what I needed to be to me get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots I be blasting. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. When the main event, man, that could never happen. The Grips.com, tell you how to get stacking. Now you're picking up traction, getting action. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. Yeah, we get it stacking. Grips.com, tell you how to get it stacking. The flops I be smashing, the pots in the